Well, if it wasn't clear, you join us at Mercedes AMG High Performance Powertrain for another edition of the Formula Student online podcast. We're stood next to the 2021 M12 E-Performance Power Unit that powered Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas around the Grand Prix circuits of Europe and the world. These power units have dominated Formula One for over 10 years now. Really exciting bits of kit, and I think it's time we got to grips with them, don't you?
Yes, definitely. I'm really looking forward to this.
And we are joined by some recent graduates from Formula Student and some team members who are still involved in Formula Student because they're on placement here at Mercedes AMG High Performance Powertrain. I'm going to start on my left. So I want to go around and introduce yourselves, what team you're associated with and what your role is here at Mercedes AMG Powertrain.
My name is Nishant Yala. I'm a mechanical engineer here, and I've come from Oxford Brookes Racing, where I did Formula Student. And before that, I also did 3 years of Formula Student, in India, where I did my bachelor's.
I'm Leah. I went to UCL and I'm currently on a mechanical engineering placement here at Mercedes HPP. I'm currently in the concept and integration team for the 26 engines.
My name is Anna Draper. I go to Coventry University and our team is Phoenix Racing, and I'm on placement this year and working as a product engineer in our integration and ERS mechanical departments for our current race programme.
So I'm Joe. I was part of Staff Studio Racing. I'm now a build systems graduate engineer, so things like toolings, fixtures, stuff like that.
So Mercedes AMG High Performance Powertrain, there's a lot to say. I'm just going to go HPP. There's a lot in there, and we're just going to make it more efficient.
So I'm involved on ICE.
Yeah.
So I work in the bottom end and gas exchange team
Right.
for 2026 Formula One.
2026 Formula One. And that must be really exciting to see, especially with the regulation change coming out. That must be really exciting to see what's coming before most people have got any idea. It's just a big question mark for most of us.
It is definitely very exciting, yeah.
I know you can't go into a lot of detail,
No.
but just talk us through the excitement of that and how fulfilling that is for you, going from Formula Student and into the dream role, really.
Yeah, so, well, for me, it's been 2 years ago, so I had the chance to come in fairly early on, and the regulations obviously moving more towards increasing the influence of electric power on it. But likewise, on the internal combustion side, there's a lot of changes. So seeing that development from the start to the end, especially jumping from Formula Student straight in, where I also did powertrain engineering, it was really cool.
So what skills did you learn in Formula Student that got you through into here at HPP?
Well, mostly just practical application of engineering fundamentals, where you actually have parts that you've designed running, see them break, you find ways to fix them, and then you start doing the same in Formula One. So it's a very interesting journey.
So we're not too far out from Formula Student 2025, are we?
We're not.
What do you think?
It's going to be interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is it worth asking some people what they think is going to happen this year?
Why is everyone looking at me? Well, I think it's obvious. It's got to be Staffs. We got the track record, the confidence.
Come consistently second for the past few years, including 1 year which felt like a real miracle. And I remember everyone around the paddock was just chuffed to bits that you even finished endurance, let alone come second. So that was a real testament to how you guys got on. It's fun that we put you guys next to each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe some context might be required for those not entirely familiar with the history or recent history of Formula Student, because you were behind the wheel in 2021, which was a big year for Staffordshire and Coventry.
Yeah, I can remember it quite a lot. I think you give your point of view, and then
I was off kicking the wall because Cardiff had crashed out by that point, so I wasn't even on track when I wasn't spectating when that went down, but it really did go down, didn't it?
Yeah, so it was obviously just coming back from COVID, so it was our first car. There was two types of cars. There's either a 2-year car or a first-year vehicle. So ours was a first-year vehicle. Because we were fortunate with our team and our university and faculty advisor, we were quite early into the workshop. So we were doing really, really well. We got the car on track. We were first to go through scrutineering, things like that. Then it came to endurance. I went out first, my endurance stint, executed it perfectly. I say to myself, it wasn't, but it got the job done. I pulled in, gave to my colleague, Alex, who then went out. And then a few laps later, we pulled into the lay-by, into the blue cones, because we were getting overtaken, because we were obviously taking it easy. Was in the car called Big Bertha. She was a heavy boy. Like 250, something like that. So we've seen heavier, but she was a dynamic queen. So we were going through that, and then Coventry lost their rear end, and then went straight into the back of us and ripped off a whole rear right corner. There was a lot of debacle whether whose fault it was. We knew. We were quietly annoyed, but we carried on. We then decided to strip the whole car. Loads of teams around us all came together and helped us, especially Salford. They literally took apart their car and gave us parts. So we managed to bodge everything together, make a new A-arm there on the spot in the welding area. And then we got it back out on track and then finished, and then came first with first overall vehicles.
That's the real quality of Formula
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
in the UK. And I've known teams over the years that have just gone, like, take our engine, put it in the back of yours. And the calls that go out during the weekend for, does anybody have a spare engine? Does anybody have a spare ECU or whatever? And it, generally speaking, it really always, brings success.
Yeah.
So I think I'm really proud of the event being that type of event.
Camaraderie between the teams. Obviously, it's a competition, but at the end of the day, I think all teams know the struggles to get through scrutineering, to have built that car over 12 months, to know how much blood, sweat, tears goes into it. And it really is blood, sweat, and tears. So at the end of the day, you're winning each other on to get through, and then when it gets competitive, that's when it gets fun. But you guys were through scrutineering first of all teams in 2021. That's not the only time you've ever done that. You are quite regularly through scrutineering as one of the first teams through.
Yeah.
Staffordshire. OBR recently have become very good at that as well. What are the techniques to getting through scrutineering, not only at all, but quickly?
I feel it's very much you win it in the garage. There's a lot of prep that goes into it, and it normally comes to the point where the last few jobs that you've got to do, making everything tidy and neat, they always take the longest, so they're not to be overlooked. Because there's teams that come and build the car there, which is, for us, is very scary, because we want to do as much testing as we can, because it's all good having a really pretty car, like Oscar Brooks. But if it can't finish, then it's not.
The shade is being thrown. I feel like you've got to have a right to reply there.
To be fair, it is a good-looking car.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It is very pretty. It is very pretty.
It's not particularly hard, but it is absolutely gorgeous as the OBR.
Yeah.
Surely this year, last year there were issues. And I think you were disqualified from endurance. The year before, you were looking like you were going to win, and then the power unit decided to freeze up. It's been building and building, because 2 years ago was the first time you got through scrutiny since before the pandemic. So the trajectory of the team would imply a very strong win this year, surely.
Sure, that's always the goal.
I'll start rooting for Oxford Brooks this year. Don't hate me. I'm really sorry. But I was there. The first year I went to Formula Student was when was a power unit. The power. I'm not an engineer.
It's alright.
So I have a question for you, just on the EV side of it. And we've just done a segment with Rory, who's our EV head of design for EV, and he said basically if you're going to go 4-wheel drive, the hub motors, it should be 4 years of development until you get there. Whereas I know Oxford Brooks has kind of gone straight in there and had all that teething trouble. So I suppose the question is, are you still persisting with that, and how much confidence have you got that it's going to be?
So I remember that's what we were persisting with. When I was there, I think the part of the powertrain I was working on was mainly cooling system for the hub motors, and we were fairly confident the way we set it up, it was going to do well. But we had troubles with gearboxes in the past, we had troubles with the cooling system as well in the past, but getting all of that and the wheels, because when you have all of that fitting into wheels has become a tight package. So getting all of that to work all in conjunction is obviously a big challenge. And
would you do it the same? Would you go to a single motor or a double motor?
No, I think 4-wheel motor. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So there's just one question that I've got. When we were talking just before we started filming, you were saying about still being an IC car.
Yes.
So I'm of that thinking as well, that I will probably be the last one to change to EV, just because of the complexities and the costs that come with it as well. Is that still your thinking?
Yes, it is. And as a university, like, it's something that we're still obviously looking for in the future, but with the infrastructure that we've got and also our own plans for the progression of our own ICE engine. Initially last year, we wanted to introduce it to be turbocharged. We didn't quite get to it.
How close are they this year?
2025.
It would be cool, actually, on your cost.
Be excited.
You had elements on there that could enable it, and we actually questioned you on that of, well, that's an additional cost, but you justified it really well by saying, look, this is a development feature that we need, and it's right to be there. But I think having the ability at Silverstone, at Formula Student, to race head-to-head to EV, that's quite unique as well. So
I don't think there's any other Formula Student event, because you've been doing it in India. What's it like?
We don't do it together, no. So actually, I was in one of the unique teams where we had one team doing 2 cars.
Oh, wow.
So we had an electric car and a combustion car. So we had to split our budget to both, which is why my Indian team was single motor, and then we had a CBR 600 combustion car as well. It was very challenging. There was a lot of internal conflict in the team about how we distribute our resources and so on. But it was always a source of motivation for us to be special in the sense that we're one team that does both the cars. So it was very, very interesting. But I think if you want to develop forward and make your engineers strong in what the future technology of motorsport is going to be, you do want to be strong on the EV side as well.
Is that where you think the industry is going? Motorsport is EV powertrains?
Well, not 100%.
Okay.
But I think that's where Formula Student is encouraging everyone to go in most countries. But I personally like engines more.
Yeah.
So
I can get that.
I was a little heartbroken when my Indian team went away from CV. But
you've experienced Formula Student in India and the UK. How do the events compare from your experience?
I think the event in UK is managed amazingly well compared to all of them are coming up now. But I think the rule book's slightly different. I think our Indian event uses a copy of the Germany event. So slight differences there as per what UK and Germany are in differences. But obviously the track is Silverstone, whereas in India we don't have a track as good as Silverstone. But it's a good track. There are a lot more teams here, and the overall standard here is a lot higher. But I think part of that is also because the teams here are more exposed to the Motorsport Valley, and all of the alumni networks of all the teams become stronger over the years from when they were before. So you get a lot of information through that. So it's good.
Because I'm a big believer in having EC and ICE cars compete on the same field, and that creates a lot of debate, especially in the comments on the stream, because we keep an eye on them in the commentary box and we see them coming in and people question it. But I feel that having them compete against each other is really interesting, because the strengths of one and the weaknesses of the other and vice versa. I don't know how you guys feel about that yourselves.
I'd agree, and I think it gives us another challenge. It's something else that we have to think about, but also in terms of all the teams, like, doesn't matter what power they're using, it's given us that exposure to an EV powertrain if we're not necessarily doing it ourselves, because no doubt in this day and age, most of us or lots of people start going into engineering roles where they might be involved with an EV powertrain. So, having that initial kind of fundamental basis, even if you're not actively doing it yourself with your own university, just being surrounded by it, what you're expecting, what results you're expecting them to get, what's their data like, obviously it depends on how much they'll share, which can fluctuate, but again, it's going back to that camaraderie, like everybody's there to support each other. And I think that shows with the UK Formula Student as well, because, we've got Edith Cowan coming from Australia.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate last year to share the garage with them. And, it's even just those little interims, those downtimes where you really get to know that how they've all got their team together, how they're organising themselves, their team structure. And it's stuff, then it's that learning that you take from other people and that you give to others that also propels the event for future years. So I think this year will be really exciting to see all of that learning come together. And
you make a really good point with you, Karen, and I think when we've seen some of the guys come over from Australia before, Monash before then, It really shows you what you can do with proper development, because their cycle, they're 6 months ahead of us because they have their competition in December. Would be really keen to take some of our guys, our teams, over to Australia and repeat that over there. So if we were to go in December with a 6 month development, what we could do as well. But the other thing, just to point out, while you were talking about EVs and IC, Formula Student Silverstone is actually one of the only events worldwide that's using sustainable fuel now as well. So we've also got that we're developing. So it's not just the transition to EV being, the de facto, exactly. There's the drop in fuel that we've got there as well, which I think is a real positive for our event.
Yeah, and it's the alignment into like real world industry as well, because it's providing you that fundamental basis. I mean, from chatting earlier, you also said even in interviews now when you're applying to jobs, you're still talking back to 2002, and unfortunately I wasn't even born then. But it just shows the impact that those early stages of your career actually do, and it's helped us get to the position that we're in, just as all of us really. So it's something that
because you're
change is good.
Successful Formula Student teams. It's all over at Sport Valley. I mean, and London percent
and London.
Anyway, so how are your teams preparing? Because I remember being on my year in industry. I was at Diamond Light Source in Dinkirk and kept in touch, and then arrived to see the car fully complete. Because obviously you're 12 months out from it, but you pick up on things. How are UCL and Coventry feeling going into FS25?
So we're entering concept class this year, just because we're quite limited in terms of just manufacturing time and getting things done and resource and people going on holiday and whatever. But I think that we've got a really strong base for the year after, and hopefully the feedback from this year is...
Because I've always found the UCL car really interesting, because it's got a very unique basic design to its chassis. It looks almost like a hunched up squirrel, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
What's the design ethos behind that? Because it does differentiate itself from pretty much every other car on the field. It looks markedly different. I mean, I think it's when Andrew Mather, who's done scrutineering and been a commentator previously, he's said it reminded him of the cars when he was competing about 10 years prior. So what's the design ethos behind the UCL car?
So our philosophy has always been no aero, just make a car work. As basic as it is, as simple as it is, just make it work. Get to where you want somehow. And then it's also very, very dependent on what everyone wants to work on, because at our university, it's application-based to get into the Formula Student team.
Right.
So we're only recruiting the people who really want to do it and who really want to put the time into it. And so we can't just be recruiting people and forcing them to do something they don't want to be doing. So it's very project-based. And we think that way you learn a lot more about how things happen in industry as well, where you start a project from its concept stage and then get to the full design, manufacture it, etc. So most people on our team will go through the whole process, which is, I think, really, really nice. But yeah, if I could also add to what was being said earlier about the learning that you do at Formula Student. Not only is it that, it's also, and the stuff that happens at competition, it's also the people you meet. It's really, really important to not only speak to the other teams, because, well, you make friends, you learn a lot. Well, friends are enemies. Yeah. I personally make friends.
Yeah. We're just very competitive.
Yeah.
And we hold a grudge.
Is this a case of keep your friends close but your enemies closer?
Yeah.
Well, we're very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Your teams both got very close.
Way too close.
Yeah. A bit too close. But hey, it's all part of the game, isn't it? It's a story we all laugh about now.
Yeah.
I cry about it, but people it's built as a team, and we now make our rear and right wishbones a lot stronger. And we have a sticker saying Coventry was.
I was about to say this, the stickers. You'll probably, if you ever come to Silverstone and, if you have a look around the cars, you might see some stickers from multiple different teams stating very interesting statements or highlighting pre-events that have...
Cardiff and you have an agreement to run each other's stickers every year, and it's always a strategically placed that on the promotional photos you never find it, but you can guarantee that they're there.
They are there.
And I remember 2022, your sticker game between the two teams was just on point. It was really great.
The label maker got worked that year. Yeah.
That's easier said than done as the label maker. It can be quite a challenge. But how are Coventry getting on? Because you've been publishing in Motorsport magazines your evolution to moving away from aero and justifying that in different publications, which I found absolutely fascinating to read. Have you had much insight into that? I appreciate you've been here, but...
Yeah, so my first instance in Formula Student was 2023 when I started uni. So at that point, our car was full aero. And then for 2024, we dropped that just to floor and side pods. So we don't exceed and get to those kind of higher speeds that you'd expect. We're not really past 70 kilometres an hour. So are we really activating those thresholds? Unlikely. So it allows us to drop down the mass. We're trying to lower our centre of gravity as well, making our car more nimble and suitable to the kind of events that we occur in the dynamics at Formula Student Silverstone. If you think of the endurance event, you think of the speed, the sprint as well. We're not really on any very long straights, so we thought, let's try and do something different, let's be bold.
It's really interesting to hear different justifications, because I've had the exact opposite conversation in the paddock with the team lead for Aero from OBR last year, and he was there with me for a good 10 minutes, and he really knew his stuff, and whether it's just different ways of coming at the same problem, and I find that really interesting. We've got new problems for teams in 2025 on the Saturday, haven't we? No limits to how many times they can run.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Got unlimited runs on Saturday for all dynamic events, so that's skid pad, sprint and acceleration. What is that going to entail for your teams? How do you think it's going to... What's that going to entail for your teams, and how do you think they should strategise?
A lot of cones.
Yeah.
A lot of cones are going to be hit.
A lot of cones.
So that award at the end of the year, no, not the end of the year, the prize giving award for furthest travel cone and the most cones hit.
Yeah.
Honestly, they are my favourite.
That could be a lot more.
They are my favourite, absolutely.
So I think the way we've set this up for the event though is, so if you've got two drivers, to actually do these, once you've done your statutory runs, which are 2 runs per driver, after that you've got to levy your fastest time. So you've got to put that up as collateral. So let's say your first driver's got a 6-second run on the acceleration. He or she would sit in that position, and your second driver then can keep going until they beat that time. So it's going to be quite a strategy for, do we keep going on acceleration, or do we switch to skid pad, or do we run the car more? Do we use our tyres? I think there's going to be a lot of teams trying to figure out how to do it this year. But I'm quite interested from a driver perspective. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you?
Is the timings the same? As in, do you ever still have the same amount of time in terms of where the acceleration's open?
Yes.
Because it's always quite tight getting from acceleration to skid.
Exactly.
We found, because we do obviously set up changes and things like that.
So we're limited a little bit by the infrastructure that we've got at Silverstone, and also the volunteers that we've got there as well. So we in fact, just last night we were talking about how we could expand that to give more running for those 2 events in the morning. But at the moment this year, we'd probably be limited to what you already know, but it's something. And back when I was competing, it was open all day. Sprint, acceleration and figure 8 were open all day on the Saturday. And that changed, I think, around 2006, basically born out of the fact that we had so many entries and so many cars that you've got to stage it a little bit. But I think there's going to be a lot of strategy applied, and teams are going to make mistakes, which is going to be great for the commentators.
From purely a spectator's point of view, I'm rubbing my hands together, because hopefully it means less empty tarmac, more cars to talk about, more excitement, more drama.
Yeah.
From a team's perspective, I can imagine it's just yet another challenge added in, but I also think it's a real opportunity to strategise, which isn't always the case in Formula Student, because it's a fairly set, and obviously that knowledge transfer, you get told, here's how it works, this is what we do, this is what we do. Whereas this throws the cat amongst the pigeons, and I think it's reflecting with motorsport across the board that strategy is a key component of that.
Definitely.
That this allows that opportunity for teams to develop further skills that previously haven't had. And I don't think there's any Formula Student event in the world currently running like this. So I think it's very much unique to FSUK.
Yeah, and I think we're sort of trailblazing it. But also I think it's going to reward the people that get their cars done early and tested, so that they can go out and start chasing these lap times or the sprint times as well. So I think there's a lot of teams out there that trade off this reputation of we're the fastest at X, Y, or Z. Well, come to Formula student at Silverstone and prove it. You're going to have the opportunity to do that now and really dial in your car and prove you're the best. But at the moment, you can only do that at our event.
It's another stepping stone, I'd say, because we do have to plan, especially when we're trying to run into like the skid pattern, especially in scrutineering, everybody's lining up for fueling. We had that last year where we had a plan to get there for a certain time, but because it was earlier than our intended slots in relation to our actual events, it did cause up a bit of a fuss. So it's then for our learning, it was like how to do plan B, plan C. And then now you've also got to throw this where you've got extra running. You've got so many things to factor in, but that's what you do in industry. That's what race strategists do. So it's actually an amazing opportunity to start going, I've actually applied this. Yeah. So let's go do it again in real life again.
Absolutely. My thinking is that it's going to be who goes first, and each of the top running teams is going to be looking at each other, trying to guess who's going to jump the line. And then from that point onwards, it's going to be the floodgates open. If Coventry could do that for us, just so we can have more fun, great. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. Are you guys going to be with your teams or volunteering at Formula Student this year, or anybody? Or
I'd love to try.
You're going to try and be.
Yeah, I plan to be around the team. So
wonderful. I'm really looking forward to it now.
I'll keep an eye out for all of you. And the stickers. I've got the stickers in my head now. I want to see how many cars have different stickers on.
They do get sticker bombed. But
just feel free to stick a bomb Cheryl, because she's on camera all weekend. So if you see Cheryl with the camera, just put more stickers on her as the weekend goes on. We'll just have a jacket made out of stickers.
It'll make the stream really, really fun, so why not? I'm all for it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day, guys. Really appreciate it. Best of luck with your work, and also best of luck to your teams as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Formula Student Podcast. We have so much more to come, so please hit that like button, subscribe, and that bell icon to be notified when we post so you don't miss anything.